The woman who chooses to live alone is often misunderstood. Not the one desperately searching for love or drowning in heartbreak, but the woman who is truly content in her own company. She has no partner, no boyfriend, and what confuses people most is that she is not searching for one either. Society struggles to make sense of her. Many assume she must be lonely, emotionally damaged, or simply unlucky in love. It is easier for people to believe she is missing something than to accept the possibility that she has intentionally stepped away from the expectations placed upon her. But her life is not some sad story. It is a quiet rebellion against everything women are taught about happiness and fulfillment. From an early age, women are often told that their lives are incomplete without a romantic partner, that their worth depends on finding a man to complete them. A home without a man is portrayed as unfinished, and a single woman is treated like someone waiting to be rescued. Yet when a woman willingly embraces solitude, she is not losing herself. She is rediscovering herself. She is reclaiming ownership of her own life and learning who she is beyond society's expectations. This journey is rarely celebrated. It does not attract applause or admiration. More often, it invites uncomfortable questions, judgment, or pity from others. But behind that silence is an incredible strength. It takes real courage to stop chasing approval from the outside world and begin trusting your own inner voice. Many people mistake this woman for being distant or emotionally closed off, but the truth is far more complicated. She is not cold, she is simply exhausted from years of giving too much of herself to others while receiving very little in return. She has spent years carrying the emotional burden in relationships, constantly pouring energy into others while neglecting herself. Now she understands that her time, peace, and emotional energy are valuable. She no longer allows herself to be endlessly available to people who take more than they give. She still believes in love, but she no longer offers access to her life without sincerity, effort, and respect. A woman who does not rely on a relationship to feel complete challenges the foundation of many social beliefs. Society is built around the idea that people are incomplete on their own and need someone else to validate them. When a woman confidently says, "I am enough as I am," she disrupts that narrative completely. She becomes difficult to control because she is no longer driven by fear of loneliness. Someone who genuinely enjoys their own company cannot easily be manipulated by promises of affection, security, or approval. For many men, this can feel unsettling because they were taught that their role is to provide something a woman lacks. But when a woman already provides herself with emotional stability, independence, and peace, it forces them to reconsider where they fit into her life. Even other women may feel challenged by her presence because she represents a level of freedom many secretly long for but are afraid to pursue. Her existence raises uncomfortable questions: are people in relationships because of love, or because they fear being alone with themselves? Without saying anything, she quietly questions the assumptions others build their lives around. Her sense of wholeness is not fragile or dependent on outside validation. It is grounded, steady, and self-contained, like a mountain that does not need a sanctuary to stand tall. She has realized that the most important relationship she will ever have is the one she has with herself. She is not waiting for another person to begin living fully. Her life is already unfolding exactly where she is, in the quiet of her own space. And when someone eventually enters her life, they are stepping into a world she has already built with care and intention. The boundaries around her peace are not there to isolate her from others but to ensure that anyone who enters understands the value of what she has created. Inside her home, the silence is noticeable. But it is not the silence of emptiness or sadness. It is the silence of peace, safety, and freedom, a sanctuary she fought hard to create for herself. Most people fear silence because the moment external noise disappears, they are forced to confront their own thoughts. To avoid that discomfort, they surround themselves with endless distractions, shallow relationships, and constant conversation. But this woman no longer escapes from herself. She has created a home that feels peaceful and sacred, a place where she can finally relax and exist without pressure. Within that space, she no longer feels the need to impress anyone, justify herself, or carry the emotional weight of other people's insecurities. Naturally, society has its own opinions about women like her. She is often labeled as too selective, distant, or hard to approach. But those judgments reveal more about the people making them than about her. Seeing a woman who genuinely enjoys her own company forces others to confront their own fear of loneliness. Many assume she has isolated herself from the world because they cannot imagine finding peace within themselves. In reality, she did not create boundaries to shut others out. She created them to protect her own peace and identity. For years, she allowed herself to be consumed by other people's expectations, emotions, and chaos. Now she carefully guards her energy. She has already confronted the emotional pain most people spend their lives avoiding: unresolved childhood wounds, unhealthy attachment patterns, and the exhausting habit of settling for tiny pieces of affection just to feel wanted. Her solitude isn't a sign of an open wound. It is the evidence of a scar that is finally, completely healed. This transformation has nothing to do with being antisocial. It reflects emotional maturity. To people who lack that maturity, her boundaries may appear cold or distant. Her lack of desperation for romance or refusal to participate in modern dating games can easily be misunderstood as giving up on love. But the truth is simpler: she has matured. True maturity unsettles people because it requires honesty, self-awareness, and emotional stability. She is no longer impressed by charming personalities, empty promises, or picture-perfect romances designed for social media. She has learned that what many people call chemistry is often just emotional instability disguised as excitement. She no longer seeks someone to rescue her, nor does she feel compelled to rescue anyone else. Instead of desperately searching for companionship, she has found strength and calmness in her relationship with herself. She understands that the idea of two incomplete people searching for completion in each other often creates unhealthy dependency. She no longer sees herself as half of something missing. She already feels whole. What she desires now is far more meaningful: mutual balance and sanctuary. She wants a relationship where both individuals are emotionally grounded, self-aware, and capable of meeting each other as equals. She seeks someone who has also done the difficult work of healing and growth. Until that kind of connection appears, she is fully content with the life she already has. She is not waiting for happiness to arrive someday. She is already living a life she enjoys, and she understands that anyone entering her world must bring peace rather than disrupt the calm she fought to create. When people look at her, they are not simply seeing a woman who lives alone. They are seeing someone who has chosen authenticity over social acceptance, a sanctuary. Many spend their lives following transparent scripts: marriage, validation, status, and approval, simply because society tells them they should. She has stepped away from that performance entirely. She represents something many people struggle to believe is possible: genuine happiness that does not depend on being witnessed or validated by others. She does not need a relationship to make her life feel meaningful, nor does she need social media approval to confirm her joy. Her happiness is personal, quiet, and deeply rooted within herself. So when others accuse her of being too picky, she doesn't argue. She simply understands something they may not yet realize. What people call being picky is often just self-respect. She no longer lowers her standards or bargains for the basic things every healthy relationship should already include: honesty, reliability, and respect. And if those things are absent, she would rather remain peacefully alone than settle for less. Her self-awareness does more than protect her peace: it forces others to confront themselves. Men who rely on insecurity or emotional dependence feel unsettled around her because the usual need to feel important or indispensable no longer works. At the same time, women who are still caught in the endless pursuit of validation may feel uncomfortable in her presence, not because she judges them, but because her independence exposes the limitations they still struggle against. She is not trying to rebel or make a statement. She is simply living honestly. Yet in a society that often expects women to remain accommodating, quiet, and constantly available, her refusal to shrink herself becomes powerful on its own. She no longer exists to satisfy expectations, maintain appearances, or mold herself into what others want. She chooses to live fully and authentically, and that kind of freedom is deeply unsettling because it cannot be controlled. Because of this growth, her understanding of love has completely changed. If she is single, it is not because she has been abandoned or is endlessly waiting for someone to appear. Her solitude is intentional. Every time she turns away from a shallow or unhealthy connection, she is choosing self-respect over temporary comfort. She has learned one painful but liberating truth: being alone is far healthier than feeling emotionally unseen inside a relationship. She knows what it feels like to sit beside someone and still feel completely disconnected. She no longer wants relationships where two people share space but remain emotionally distant from one another. That does not mean her journey is always easy. There are still moments when loneliness surfaces, moments when she misses intimacy, affection, or companionship. But even during those vulnerable times, she refuses to betray herself by settling for relationships that diminish her peace or identity. She would rather face temporary loneliness than abandon her own worth just to avoid sleeping alone. The kind of love she welcomes now comes from a completely different place. She is not searching for rescue because she already values the life she has built. She is not looking for someone to repair her insecurities or fill emotional voids. If love eventually enters her life, it will not arrive as something meant to complete her. Instead, it will be a partnership between two people who are already emotionally whole and who choose to share their lives because it enriches them both. Love, to her, is no longer about dependency. It is about mutual growth and shared joy. The difference is profound. She is not searching for someone to carry her through life but for someone capable of walking beside her as an equal. She wants a partner who has also faced themselves honestly, done the difficult work of healing, and understands that healthy love expands a person rather than controls them. Ultimately, this message is not only about one independent woman. It speaks to anyone who has spent too much time shrinking themselves to fit into spaces, relationships, or expectations that never honored who they truly are. Many people grow exhausted from constantly compromising their voice, dreams, and boundaries just to maintain approval or avoid conflict. Living authentically begins when a person stops performing for others and starts reconnecting with themselves. Real fulfillment does not begin with finding the perfect partner. It begins with reclaiming your own identity, learning to value your own peace, and setting standards rooted in self-respect rather than fear of being alone.